Today, we are diving into a story about a super common Python tool that has a really dangerous hidden limitation. Honestly, it's a trap that a ton of developers fall into. But after this, I promise, you are going to see it coming a mile away.
So, it all starts with our guy Timothy. He's just found this amazing new function and he's feeling totally on top of the world. He walks right over to his mentor Margaret with this huge grin and says he's basically cracked the code on all his data problems. See, here's what happened. Timothy had just stumbled upon Python's deepcopy function. And in his mind, it wasn't just a function. Oh no, it was a magical, all-powerful cloning machine, something that could perfectly duplicate any object, no questions asked, creating a totally safe and separate copy.
And his plan on the surface seemed pretty smart. He's working with this live database for a big tournament, right? And he wants a safe little copy of that connection to play around with, without messing up the actual real data. So he figures, hey, I'll just deep copy the whole connection object. I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
Well, as you can probably guess, something went very, very wrong. Instead of a beautiful, perfect clone, his screen just erupts, a terrifying wall of red error text. His ultimate clone machine didn't just fail, it pretty much exploded on the launch pad.
And this is the line of code that did it. Just one single, innocent-looking line. It looks totally clean, it seems logical, it's probably exactly what you or I might have written. But this is what brought the whole program crashing down. So this is the super cryptic message he got back, a type error. It says it can't pickle a thread lock object. Now, pickling is just a fancy Python word for turning an object into a stream of bytes so it can be copied or saved. The word itself isn't the key. The real clue is what it couldn't copy, a lock. And a lock is something that's tied directly to the computer's operating system. It's not just data anymore. So Timothy's totally stumped. And this is where his mentor, Margaret, steps in with the absolute perfect analogy to clear everything up. She gives him this mental image that just cuts right through all the technical jargon, and it all has to do with trying to photocopy something you really can't. And boom, there it is. This just hits the nail on the head. See, Timothy wasn't just copying information. He was trying to copy a live, active, physical connection to something outside of his program. He literally found the border between pure data, which lives inside Python, and a real-world resource. So this is the big concept we have to get our heads around, this idea of a live link. It's not just some data sitting inside your program. Think of it more like a doorway, a portal from your code to the outside world. It could be a file on your hard drive, a server halfway across the globe, or, in Timothy's case, a running database. It has a real, physical connection that the operating system has to manage. Let's just break this down to make it crystal clear. Over on the left, you've got your pure data. We're talking lists, dictionaries, simple bits of info. Think of it like a recipe on a piece of paper. You can photocopy that all day long, no problem. But on the right, you have live resources. This isn't just the recipe. This is the oven that's already on and baking the cake. You can't just stick an active oven in a photocopier. And that brings us to the simplest way to think about it. Imagine you're on the phone with someone, having a conversation. Could you take that phone, slap it on a photocopier, and create a second, totally independent phone call? No way, right? It's absurd. You could copy the phone number, sure, but you can't copy the active call itself. And that is exactly what Timothy tried to do with his database connection. But Timothy, being a sharp guy, asks a really good follow-up question. He's thinking, okay, crashing is bad, but wouldn't it be better if it just didn't crash? And this is where Margaret explains why that error message was actually a good thing, because the alternative is way scarier. And it's a fair question, isn't it? I mean, errors are annoying. A program that just kind of works, or at least pretends to, might feel a little better at first. But trust me, that crash just saved Timothy from a complete nightmare. Because if Python had somehow managed to create a copy without crashing, it would have created what we call a zombie copy. It would look like a connection, it might even feel like a connection, but it would be a dead, hollow shell. The moment Timothy tried to actually use it, his program might just freeze forever, or even worse, it could send garbage data back and corrupt the entire database. That crash wasn't a bug, it was a safety feature. Okay, so if cloning a live resource is a terrible, dangerous idea, what are you supposed to do? What's the right way, the professional way, to get a second connection? Well, the solution is actually way more elegant. It's a concept called the builder pattern. And the logic is so simple, but so powerful. You don't clone the finished thing.
Instead, you go back to the original blueprints, the configuration, the instructions, and you use them to build a brand new, fresh, perfectly working twin from the ground up.
And just look at the difference. The wrong way is trying to deep copy something that's already alive and running. That's like trying to photocopy a car while it's driving down the highway. It's going to end in a mess. The right way, the professional way, is to take the car's blueprints, the configuration, and just build a second car. It's clean, it's safe, and it always works.
Margaret just sums it all up perfectly with this one line. It's such a great way to remember it. You always want to ask yourself, am I trying to copy the journey that's already in progress? Or am I copying the map so I can start a brand new journey? One of those is a disaster waiting to happen, and the other is the foundation of really solid software.
All right, to make sure this lesson really sticks, Margaret gives Timothy a super simple cheat sheet. It basically breaks down the rule of thumb for when you should use deep copy, and more importantly, when you absolutely should not.
And here it is. It really just boils down to this. Are you dealing with pure data, like a list or a dictionary? Go for it. Deep copy is your friend. It'll work perfectly. But the second you're looking at a live resource, a database connection, an open file, a network socket, stop. Deep copy is going to fail. That's your cue to use a builder function and create a new one from its configuration instead.
And that really brings us to the final big picture lesson here. Timothy's mistake wasn't that he was a bad developer. His mistake was looking for a single magic hammer that could solve every single problem. The real art of engineering is about craftsmanship. It's about knowing the limits of your tools and understanding that different materials need different approaches. And knowing that, well, that's what separates a beginner from an expert.